we were in negotiations.
Investing in real estate, they're winning, they're making money.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Real Estate Educators Podcast, where we provide the education you can build on. I am your host, Kevin Amolsch. This podcast is a little different than some of the others that you may have heard because we're helping real estate investors and real estate educators. So if you're out there investing in real estate, building wealth, building your portfolio, or if you're trying to attract real estate investors by providing value to them, this is the podcast for you. I have a super special guest, Mr. Bishoy Habib. And here's why I think it's super special today, because him and I share a little bit in common. We have some creativity, a unique ability to come up with solutions and structure deals. He's an attorney, he's a broker, he is a real estate investor, and he is loaded with experience and information. Super excited to get to know you a little bit. Bishoy, welcome to the show.
I appreciate it, Kevin. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to kind of dig into some of this stuff, and thanks for the warm intro. You make me sound really cool.
Well, it's funny. You actually provided the intro for me. No, I'm just kidding. You gave me a heads up on what your experience is, and I just kind of go with it. And you did say that you are an attorney, you're an active attorney, and you're helping clients. So I assume you're looking for clients.
Yeah. So what I do a couple different things right now. The primary thing, I'm a real estate attorney. I have been a real estate attorney for 12 years now. I'm licensed in New York and Florida, but I practice in Florida. So and I opened up my own law firm about a year ago, about 14 months ago now.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So the first year is just like trying not to drown, just trying to survive. Now I'm in year 2, trying to kind of figure out how to grow it. But yeah, that takes about, I would say 70% of my time. So that's really where I'm focused. I focus on real estate. I also do business law. I also do estate planning in Florida. So that's a big chunk of what I do. I also own a real estate brokerage. I'm the broker here in Florida. It's called Capstar Real Estate. And we have about 17 agents under us right now. And so we do retail, but we also do some off-market stuff. And then the third hat I wear is on the investment side with the investment company. And so we got 10 full-time employees in Costa Rica that we take care of, and they find us off-market deals, and it's a whole system that we got in place. And I just visited them last week. We were down there for 4 days. It was an amazing trip, but those are kind of the 3 hats I wear, and a lot of it really ties in together pretty well, so makes life easy for me.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into all of that. So let's start by going back. So obviously you love real estate. You have 3 hats. They're all involved in not only real estate, but real estate investments. That's really your focus here. So
Yeah.
Take me back. How did you get excited about real estate? I think it was in your family, or take me back to the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. So growing up, son of immigrants, I'm Egyptian, so everyone pushed us to be doctors and pharmacists and dentists. And mom was a dentist. I have 3 sisters. They're all dentists. And my dad was a pharmacist. And so I got pushed in that direction. And I was like, that's just not for me. So I remember when I was younger, I'd see my dad making his own schedule, driving around town. Like, he was working all the time, but he could pick us up from school, take us to soccer, whatever. I always thought it was neat that nobody told him what to do and he could make his own schedule. And so I think the seed was planted when I was young, is to kind of be an entrepreneur, make your own schedule. So I was always drawn to it. And so he got involved in real estate before I was born. He had the foresight to do that. And so naturally, I think I was drawn to it. And then I was like, I got to do this. And so I go to law school without any intention to practice law. I go to law school just to kind of like get a degree, but like not use it as an attorney, and just to have the degree. And then I get out in 2012 and the market's where it's at. And I'm like, well, all right, maybe I'll go practice. So I moved to New York. I got a pretty neat job up there, doing big hotel deals in Manhattan, and did that for 2 years. And then I came back down to Florida because my mom got sick, and I was like, I'll keep doing it, I guess. And then, 2 years turns into 4 years, turns into 8 years. And then one day you look up, you're like, wait a minute, I'm getting kind of good at this, and people really want my help, and I'm helping people, and it's kind of fun now. And next thing you know, you're, a real estate lawyer, right? For 12 years. So that's kind of where my journey took me. And now I'm just embracing it. I realize that the experiences I have can help people quite a bit, which is the best part.
Yeah, and I do definitely want to dig into the law side because we don't have too many attorneys on the show, so I'm excited to get into that. But take me back to the investment side. So Costa Rica, right? Are you actually doing deals in Costa Rica, or you're just helping Costa
Not
Rica
yet, not
clients?
yet. It's funny you asked that. It just so happens to be where our call center is. And I say call center like we found all these people on our own. It's not like a third party company or anything. It's just connections that we had. Now we have a whole team of 10. Um, 10 to 12. I don't know where we're at right now, but there was 10 with us this weekend. And so they're full time. I mean, they're bilingual. They're similar to our time here in the Eastern time zone. And so it works out very well. Um, and there's not a lot of opportunity down there. So when we went down there, what we were fascinated with is the investment side within Costa Rica, because these guys are looking for deals all over the country for us in the USA. That's really what we're targeting because we
I
know
see. Okay.
those markets. And it's a system, right? We feed them information, they reach out and so forth. So, but they're very effective. We've done very well. We just started with them 6 months ago. It's been tremendous. And so we want to go down and visit them every quarter and kind of keep things going. Um, the investments in Costa Rica, we're looking at them. We stayed at a crazy Airbnb there this past weekend. It was not cheap, but it was, I mean, absolutely out beautiful. We were in Hako Beach. So we had the beach, we had the infinity pool, we had, like 20 beds in the house. And so, I mean, it was like, okay, there's a market for this because we know what we paid and there's a lot of these coming up. And if you go out there's a ton of development. And so the next thing we talked about was, well, maybe we can, start connecting some of the money in America. And there's a lot of it that doesn't know what to do with some of these opportunities down in Costa Rica, and there's a lot of those. Just driving from the airport to our Airbnb, we saw so many just different hotels, condos, Airbnbs coming up. Obviously, you have to be in the right area, but it's really two markets that the money and the development. And so, what if we could connect some of those? So it's funny you ask.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you said Costa Rica there. I just assumed it was the investment, but it's actually like a VA office, like a virtual assistance
It
office, it
is.
sounds
That's
like.
exactly what it is. Yeah, that's
Okay, cool.
exactly what it
So
is.
you could literally just travel down there, check in on the VAs, and write the entire trip off.
Yeah,
Sounds
yeah.
like a little strategy you have here.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, truly, we did do a lot of work down there. We had
Oh,
fun
sure.
too, but it was a good trip, kind of getting inside the minds of those young guys and girls. We have both, and those people. I think they're going to be very loyal because jobs are tough down there. That these employers, they were telling us they play games, and after 2 months, you have to basically give employees benefits so they turn and burn, right? So they'll keep them for like a month, 2 months less a day and then fire them so they don't have to give them benefits. And so they're kind of burnt out from that, the employees. And so when they have someone like us who's giving them stability, they're just very excited and very loyal. So it's been a good experience for everybody so far.
And one of my close friends and a client as well, he has a VA office there as well. And he does something very similar to you. He goes down and he spends money on finishing the office, making it nice. He meets with everybody, takes them out. So it's really a virtual assistant to me sounds so non-human almost, right? But
It does.
these are like we have some VAs in the Philippines and I love them. Like they're on our team, like they're participating in our team meetings and they really are a part of our teams. It sounds like you feel the exact same way.
I don't like the term VA.
I don't
Not
like
that I
it.
don't use the term VA, but that's why I call them employees because I do feel like they're employees. And honestly, after this weekend, I feel like they're partners because we tell them like we have this whole vision. You guys are going to be up here with us. You're day ones. Like we started this investment company, and you guys were our first employees. You guys recruit, you guys coach, you guys manage, and it's going to be a very big opportunity for everybody. And so after this weekend, I feel like more like they're partners, especially kind of the first three that we hired. So yeah, and I have VAs in the Philippines as well. They're awesome. They're just the most lovely people. They were messaging all in the Slack this morning about the flooding that's going on there and sending pictures and stuff like that. It's crazy, but it's like a whole other world, but just the nicest people in the world.
Oh yeah, I could not agree more. So to hear you say that some people will, it's almost like chew them up and spit them out. That's what I'm going through my mind when you're saying it,
Yeah.
describing it. But you just use them for 2 months and then fire them. I just like that even hurts me to hear that.
And these are American companies. And so they're going down there. They know the rules. They're like, all right, if we hire them for 59 days and we fire them, we don't have to give them, a raise. We don't have to give them health care, yada, yada.
These are
So,
human beings with families.
yeah, but the problem is it's supply and demand. There's so many more there's so many more employees looking for work than there are employers. And so they know they can get away with it.
It's pretty amazing. Okay, so
Yeah.
you have them helping you on the acquisition side, it sounds like. So they're out there they're hunting for
Both
deals.
acquisition, disposition as well. We have some dedicated to dispo, and we have some dedicated to acquisition side as well.
And you
Mostly acquisition.
and you mentioned retail. So that's your asset class of choice.
Well, we've been doing a lot of residential because it's easy and straightforward,
Okay.
and there's not much to it. But we've been that's where we started. But we've been doing a lot more land plays here in Florida. We've been focusing the land in Florida, where basically we've partnered up with uh, a group of seasoned built people in the building space, and they have this technology, and I like to think that we're kind of changing the way that finding land is being done. That's a whole other element to our investment company, and I think that's what I'm most excited about. um what we found historically, and I say this because I've been in the rooms with these people, and these builders and these developers. We ask them, how are you finding land? um and they say, well, we're driving around, and it's relationships, and we just kind of follow up once a year, once every 6 months with these people that we have relationships with. And I'm like, okay, so you're not using any technology? They're like, no. It's amazing. And
It's
these are
amazing.
like billion-dollar companies and multi-million-dollar companies and companies that are doing 100 ground up projects a year, regional builders, at 1 million plus each. So I'm not talking about like a local, 3 doors a year kind of guy. So basically what we're doing is we're combining modern technology. We're leveraging that. We're leveraging our resources. We're leveraging our team, and basically reverse engineering the process, right? So you're a builder, you say to me, hey, I want to build in these zip codes or these counties. I want, infill lots, or I need 10 plus acres, right? And then we reverse prospect that, and then we use technology to find out, how do we get in touch with these people? What's the best way? And then we approach them and we make this happen. Now, this is in the early stages. We're about a couple months into this. I don't want to call it an experiment because it's worked, right? Within the first month, we got 4 deals under contract. So, yeah, and one of them was like a $5 million deal, right? So just for land. So these are we're trying to develop this proof of concept, and then eventually take it to a larger developer and say, look, like, this is what we could do. What do you want to do about it? Now, the cool thing is it's technology, right? So right now we're in Florida with this project. It's just as easy. We can scale it to a national level, right? We would just have to go state by state with the technology. So thankfully, that aspect of it doesn't change. Obviously, we're in a great market to test it, right? Because everyone's looking here. But that's what I'm most excited about, I think. So the land stuff, the development stuff, every day seems like we're having calls with builders or land entitlement companies or developers, and they want to get on the action, and we almost can't keep up with it. So we're trying to figure out how to streamline that process, how to protect ourselves so we're not getting cut out of deals and things like that. But it's the future. The future is here. Using AI, using technology, using different methods to get a hold of property owners.
Yeah, so you touched on it, but this is easily scalable the way you're building it. So if I was in your position, I think I would try to find, if I was going to move into a new market, maybe try to find a builder to latch onto and go into
Yeah.
the market where I already have a client. Is that the plan? I mean, is if there's builders listening that want to do something in Denver, Colorado, where we're at, could they call
Yeah.
you and say, "Hey, can you help us locate some projects?" Or
It would be less effective outside of Florida. The reason being, the team that we partnered up with, they're our partners essentially. And actually they came under our brokerage last week, after several months of working with them. But they have this proprietary software here in Florida. And again, this is what they're eventually going to have all over. But right now it's in Florida. And basically what it does is I like to say, it tracks the progress um, of growth in Florida. So like you could see every permit that's been pulled in the state. You could see every Publix that's been built or is being built. You can pull up every multifamily project with the click of a button. And I'm oversimplifying it. You could do way more than that, but that's kind of beyond the scope of what I do. But every time we get on and we're on a Zoom or Google Meets call and they pull up their screen and show me something, I'm like, that's incredible. That's incredible. It's not my world, but I can appreciate how awesome that is that you're doing that. So they can pull the top 50 zip codes in terms of progress, in terms of permits, in terms of development in Florida at this moment in time, which will be different in a month or 2 months. So the technology they have is quite incredible. They're not national yet. So if you call me from Denver, we can help you. It won't be as efficient. So I would say if you're looking in Florida, call us. And as we scale, it will happen. It will I don't know if it'll be a year, 2 years. We will absolutely get out there. Just to take it a step further, the goal would be to take this to one of the big boys, the 800-pound gorillas, and say, hey, listen, we'll give you an exclusive. You get a first look, a 5 or a 10-day period in this jurisdiction, in this state, county, whatever, and you're going to pay us a retainer of $1 million a year, right, for this first right of refusal for any land on in Florida, right, just as an example. And then on top of that, we'd make something on the commission as well. So that's kind of what we're aiming for. But I mean, we could still do pretty well while we test it out. And then once we get to that point, it would be kind of something on a much bigger scale. So that's what we're excited about.
Yeah, I could see it like being a built-in exit strategy almost. Like
Yeah.
I could see one of the big boys scooping you up. And
Yeah.
that'd probably
We're,
be a
we're,
nice little exit, wouldn't it?
we're a couple months in. This is probably a
Yeah, okay.
5-year
Fair
project,
enough. Fair enough.
but I really genuinely do believe that we're changing the way that land is done. I mean, Kevin, that real estate is a laggard industry. We don't like it's like law. It's just the two industries I'm in. They hate change. They hate
Yeah.
um technology. And I think it's changing a little bit with real estate. People are catching on that like we should combine the two. Law, it's not. Law, we hate it. We'll never embrace we will never embrace technology because that's just how we're wired. I'm trying to change that. I have an AI specialist. I have an AI consultant within my law firm. I talk to him every day. We're always trying to figure out how to do cool things. I had like 3 demos scheduled this week for new AI tools for lawyers. So I'm trying to be different, but as a whole, the legal field is the worst, but the real estate field is not too far ahead in terms of just adapting to technology. Very far behind. So I think it's time to change all that.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Um, I feel like I'm going back to that exit strategy just because I'm thinking in my mind, like, what a cool thing that you've created here. And it mostly benefits your brokerage firm. That sounds like that's where the focus is. I'd like to hear a little bit more about your team, but are you doing the investment side as well? Are you developing some land or finding rental properties or anything for your own personal portfolio?
Yeah, so a lot of what we've been doing is kind of quick hits, just to kind of keep the bills going. But now that we've kind of put a little bit of money in the bank, that's exactly what we're talking about. Is like, all right, let's start picking off some of these properties and hanging on. And we've had a couple different ideas. We just want to hone in on one strategy because there's so many different opportunities for us, right? So we definitely want to be the commercial space. The single family is just not where we want to be to buy and hold unless it's in our backyard and it's a great asset. That's fine. But for us, we've toyed with gas stations because one of our, I guess we could say friends, but also, one of our investors, he's a big gas station guy, basically. He's got like 60 of them, 70 of them. So he's kind of given us the insights and telling us how lucrative it could be. We've talked about Section 8 quite a bit. We kind of started that, but we put a pause on that. So we're just trying to figure out what asset class to really dive into. Warehouse is pretty easy, so we've discussed that. So all of this to say, like, we're exploring what makes the most sense. We kind of want it to make sense. So that's where we are in terms of commercial investing. And then in terms of development, absolutely, man. We just had a call yesterday with a smaller developer in town. We've had these calls many times, but I'm hoping this is the one that makes the most sense. but yeah, he wants to JV with us. He wants us to find him the land and partner up with him, and maybe we find the money to take the land down, and then he handles the construction. And then, I mean, he was telling us he could build these homes in 100 days. So, um, that could be a great scenario for us where we're JVing. We definitely are not trying to get into construction, but it would be cool to learn the process from A to Z. That'd be a great way to do it. And then eventually we could take down, multifamily that way. So we're interested. We are open to JVing, joint venturing partnership for those who are a little newer to real estate. JV just means a joint venture with someone. So like one person brings the money or the land, and the other person brings the development or other experience. So but that would be a win-win for us, and we could obviously learn and then make even more on the back end than we would on the front end. So absolutely looking forward to those opportunities.
This episode is brought to you by Pine Financial Group. Pine Financial is a private lender specializing in short-term rehab lending to real estate investors. Got a property that needs some love? We can help. We are able to offer funding solutions because we raise private money from individual investors. With more than 15 years of experience, Pine offers passive investors an alternative that provides stability, consistency, and security to your portfolio. If you like real estate but want to avoid the ups and downs and effort, a Pine mortgage fund could be a perfect fit for you. Accredited investors will experience an 8% preferred return and profit sharing. Diversify your portfolio out of Wall Street and into Main Street with a Pine Financial Group mortgage fund. Get more information at pinefinancialgroup.com. That's pinefinancialgroup.com. Your passion is very clear, very obvious, Bishoy. So you have a bright, bright future in the investment broker side. So let's skip over here to the legal side, because I know you're a competent attorney. You've been doing it for a long time. Tell us a little bit more about your firm.
Levacy Legal, founded in 2023, founded the month after I got married. So it was a crazy couple months for me and my wife. But I was thinking of names while I was on my honeymoon. I was trying to finalize the law firm name. So I picked Levacy Legal because I wanted to help clients leave a legacy. So I combined the two because that's ultimately when I kept thinking about, why am I doing this? What is this for? I could do a million, I could go any which way. And so I realized, like, I wanted to do this to help leave a legacy behind me when I'm gone, right? Making money's cool, leaving a legacy lasts forever. And so I wanted to help my clients. And I deal with a lot of higher net worth people, or people who, are in business or real estate. That's really my clientele. And those people want to leave legacies too, right? That's what they exist to do, a lot of them. And so it just made perfect sense to me to help people leave a legacy the same way that I wanted this law firm to leave a legacy. We focus on real estate, business, and estate planning. And the who was our typical client is somebody that is an investor, somebody that's a business person, somebody that is buying some real estate, or is investing in real estate, or is buying or selling a business, right? Or any of those people that are looking for an estate plan. A lot of people don't think about that till they get older. I didn't initially do estate planning. And then what happened was, a lot of my clients from 10 years ago plus started making money and started coming to me and say, hey, listen, like, I'm starting to make this money. What do I do with it? How do I protect it? I got a kid now. I got kids now, whatever I have grandkids now. Right. So now I was like, okay, well, there's obviously a need here. Right. So I started adding that to my practice. And, I have an attorney that's extremely good at that. We also handle litigation, get a ton of litigation. Actually, that's been the hottest thing the past couple months. I think because things have slowed down a bit, and that's just how that works. So I've been getting more litigation calls than anything the past 2-3 months. It is what it is. That's what happens when the market slows down. But those are kind of my practice areas. So
So on the estate planning side, because this is something that we all, I guess, set aside or procrastinate or avoid almost. What are, outside of avoiding, because I just said that, what are some mistakes that you see real estate investors making when it comes to their estate plan?
just not thinking about it. I mean, I guess that's the same thing as avoiding, but I think we have a tendency to just ignore it until it becomes an issue, because people just don't understand how serious the ramifications could be. Um, Probate is a really, really annoying process. It can be a very expensive process. For those who don't know what probate is when someone dies, if they don't have if they don't have certain things in place to have those items or belongings pass automatically to their loved ones, it has to go through probate. And just to be clear, a will does not avoid probate. People think it does. It does not. So if you have a will, it still has to go through probate. What is probate? It's a court-ordered process that basically all the belongings of the person who passed away has to go through a public process. It goes through a court. The family or the estate, right, out of the belongings of that person who passed away has to pay the court, has to pay the lawyer's fees, right? It's mandatory. It's the first thing that gets paid. Has to pay funeral expenses. Anything that is in that, package of stuff that that person left behind, including real estate, cannot go to anyone until probate is complete. The more money that this person left behind, the more assets, the more complicated, the more time consuming it is, the more likely it is that someone would contest it, right? And so it's almost like we say in the legal world, probate is like it's literally quite literally starting a lawsuit against yourself, right? Because you have to open the probate, you have to start a litigation. Um, so if you don't have many assets, it might not be a big deal. If you have 10 properties, it is going to be a big pain in the you know what. And those properties are tied up until the probate is complete. That could be a year, that could be 2 years. Who knows, right? So all you have to do is create a trust. You create one document, right? One document, and it can save you from tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees and years of headache. And that document does not cost tens of thousands of dollars to make, right? It's much cheaper than that. So, but people don't know. It's education. It's what it comes down to. I've learned with estate planning is it's education. Unless who the best clients are for estate planning, the ones who call me and say, Bishoy, I start telling them, "Do you know what probate is?" They cut me off like, "I know what probate is because my neighbor went through it. My cousin went through it.
Yeah.
My whatever." And I just they're like, "You don't have to sell me. Just tell me what we need to do and I'm in." And that's the power of education because they know how difficult it can be. And so that's what I've realized is just going out there and teaching people what it is, how it works, and how it can help you, and how spending, $5,000 today or $10,000 today can save you or your family in some cases so much more than that in time and effort and headache and heartache.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I see it too. And one point that we haven't mentioned is you got to keep this up to date. Like as you're in your growth phase, which
Yeah.
if you're listening to this, you are in the growth phase. You're acquiring assets, and as your estate grows, you need to keep these documents up to date. And then you have LLCs and different entities outside the trust, I assume, and they all have built-in direction, right? In the like, let's say an LLC in the operating agreement, it'll spell out exactly what happens if something happens to you, right? And that should
Yeah.
avoid probate too, I would think, right, Bishoy?
It can. It's actually a good question. Operating agreements can, but it's not as reliable. So I tell my clients that you should still prepare a trust. That way, if you die, if for some reason the court decides, well, the operating agreement says that your shares avoid probate, but we're not going to rule that, that's authorized, right? It depends what state you're in as well.
Oh, that's
The
interesting.
trust will, yeah, the trust will override it, and so we could put it in there, but the trust is the way to go with most cases.
Could you create the trust and then have the member units inside the LLC automatically transfer into the trust upon death?
We could do that. We could do it a couple different ways. Honestly, a lot of times we just have the trust hold the shares.
I see.
Right? Yeah, so that's the easiest, cleanest way to do it, because then there's not really a question. The trust doesn't die. It just, once the beneficiary dies, then it kind of passes through. So that's one way to do it. The other way is just that individual who died has his trust, so it passes through the trust. Like the shares are already in that trust, so it kind of passes through that way. So it's a little convoluted sometimes, but
Yeah.
it's actually pretty straightforward once you kind of think through it.
And every situation is different, obviously. And
Absolutely.
clearly, I am not
Absolutely.
an attorney because I just asked that question and he told me I was basically wrong. So
No,
call
no, no.
him.
You're not wrong. It's just there's so many ways to do it, and there's simpler ways to do it and more difficult, but you're actually very spot on with your kind of line of thinking.
Yeah, I start immediately go to like irrevocable, right? That's where my mind goes. And I don't want to get into that on this podcast, but that's why I made that comment.
Yeah.
But in any case, I'm now thinking, Bishoy, on the other side of a probate. So I've done lots of fix and flips, and my best deals ever have come from probate lists. So I would market to probate lists, the personal
Yeah.
representative, and I would get fantastic real estate transactions that way. So is it true that, well, first of all, is that a good strategy for real estate investors to use? And walk
Yes.
me through the process, because you said that the property's tied up in probate, but I've had experiences where they would release properties because they're trying to generate cash to pay creditors. So just help me understand the process there with getting a property out of probate so that I could buy it as an investor.
So it depends on the state you're in, because every state process is different. I mean, I can speak to Florida. Um, if the property, so first of all, that's an excellent strategy. Absolutely the best way to, one of the best ways and tried and true in any market to get deals is probate. The reason being, a lot of times, and you know this better than me, Kevin, a lot of times the people that have to sign off on the deal would be like the kids or the heirs.
Yeah.
And number one, they didn't pay for the property. Number two, they don't really have any sense of the value of the property. Number three, there's a good chance they're not local, right? I feel like most times they're not.
That's right.
And so it's a sister in Idaho and a sister in California and a brother in Washington. And pops died a year ago and they don't, oh, he owned this. I didn't know he owned this house. He's got what, 300,000 in equity. Cool. Um, yeah, I'll take a check for $50,000. I don't, okay, what do I just have to sign? Yeah, that's cool. That's it. That's how it goes, right? Nobody knows anything. They don't appreciate it, unfortunately. So, the house that maybe was worth 300, you're getting for 150 because they don't know the difference. Um, in terms of the process, there's different things. So, like in Florida, for example, if it's a homestead property, if it was a homestead property, that could get released much quicker than the rest of the probate because it still has to go through probate. But once they make an order of determination that it's a homestead property, the judge then releases it, and it is allowed to be sold. So, and that's just an exception that we make here in Florida. I can't speak to Colorado. I can't speak to other states, but that might be an example where you don't have to wait for the entire probate to be complete. Sure, there's a scenario like you mentioned where they need to liquidate earlier to get rid of assets in order to kind of pay some creditors. It's possible that they do that sooner than the probate is complete. So there's definitely different nuances. Every probate's kind of its own thing. I'll go back to that point. The bigger the probate is, meaning the more assets there are, the slower it's going to move, the more liability everybody has. And by everybody, I mean the court, the attorneys, if there's like a trustee involved, um, and the personal representative. And so everyone's going to move more cautiously. There's going to be more people attacking the probate, and so it gets messier, and there's a lot more CYA involved. So the best ones are the one or two properties, smaller properties. They're not very competitive, and then you kind of pick off a deal. But the guy that died with 50 properties and no estate plan, that's probably going to be a little bit messier and take more time.
Yeah. And I feel like the messier it is, the bigger the problem you could solve, the more money you'll make.
sure.
So I would not shy away from messy. But on the
For sure.
probate side, for my own experience here, and all my probate deals have been in Colorado. I've only dealt with the personal representative. Now, I didn't deal with the court, I didn't deal with attorneys, I didn't deal with other siblings, but I do know that there's pressure from the siblings to the PR, the personal representative, to liquidate quickly. So they're getting hit by their brothers and sisters. But I guess I only share that because I don't want anyone to be intimidated by this strategy, because you're really only dealing with one person in most cases. And you can get some fantastic deals, no question.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's pressure because they want their checks.
But they're fighting with their sister, and the other sister probably already spent the money. Right? People do that. People spend money before they have it.
They all the time, all the time.
Okay. What other you mentioned, I know that you're very good with the creative financing. So I'm assuming you're talking about owner carry type stuff, lease with options, subject to's, I don't know, do you have like contract for deeds and land contracts and all of that in Florida? So walk me through quickly how your firm handles those types of transactions.
Yeah, not frequently with the contract for deed. I mean, those are rare. Mostly what we do is the subject twos. I subject twos for those who are a little newer. It's like, when you would want to use them is when interest rates are higher now than they were previously. And so basically you're not necessarily assuming, people get confused. You're not assuming the loan. You're just buying the property and keeping the old mortgage on there and then paying it. Is it technically kosher with the lender? Probably not. But as long as you're paying them, things tend to go okay. Things go sideways when, there's issues not paying the insurance or you default in some other capacity with the lender, and I'm dealing with that. And so people just have to understand there's inherent risk. There's no such thing as a free lunch, right? So you're not just going to get this amazing subject to deal with no risk. There's always a risk to the buyer and the seller. Have to understand that first and foremost. You both control each other's fate to an extent, right? And so you're still married after the transaction. That's what makes it a little funky. Based on who I'm representing, and I have represented both sides, I have to draft the documents accordingly. So what I do is, I basically create a land trust, and maneuver it inside the land trust. And I won't go into too many details here, but um, there are certain provisions that I'll put in there that are buyer friendly if I represent the buyer, and then there's certain provisions I'll put in there that are seller friendly if I represent the seller. At the end of the day, my job is to protect my client. So, you just have to know the risks of the subject to deals, and they can work amazing. They always sound good on paper, but then it's just a matter of everyone doing what they're supposed to do after the fact.
Yeah. So I'm seeing a lot of these, Bishoy, now because of what you just said. With the interest rates as high as they are, and we have locked in money at 3%, right? I mean, if you refinanced anywhere around COVID, um, you know, mid-ish 2020, you have a 3% interest rate or less. And those are starting to become available. These subject twos are starting to become available. So you're literally taking title to the property without paying off the debt. Right? You're just taking on responsibility for the debt, however the agreement says. What you were talking about is the due on sale clause, right? And I get this question constantly. There's no due on sale jail. You're not breaking the law. Okay, all you're doing is breaking an agreement that the seller had with the lender. If you're the buyer, you weren't even part of that agreement. But the
Not
seller
illegal.
is
It's not
violating it.
illegal. Yeah, it's
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 not
not
illegal.
illegal. There's nothing against the law. It's just a breach of your contract, a breach of
Exactly.
your agreement. It's a breach of the mortgage.
Yep. Yep.
You're not
Okay.
going to jail. You're not going to
Nope.
jail.
Nope.
It's good, Kevin. I think you bring that up. It's a good thing to bring up. It's not, but the due on sale clause, listen, I mean, historically as an attorney, it's not something they called frequently, but if they were to ever call it, it would be now. And I'm going to tell you something else.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
firsthand have heard of commercial lenders. I don't know how often they're doing this in the residential space, but I know firsthand for a fact in the commercial space, maybe starting a year ago when they were lending prior, lending at 3 and now it's at 7, 8 because it's commercial. They were going in because these bankers had nothing to do. The market was dead.
Yeah.
They were going back, reviewing the covenants, reviewing the restrictions, and trying to put people in default to call their 3% to 8%. Can you believe that? Can you believe
I
I
can, and
had a
here's why. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna finish this thought. I had a client that was a church,
Oh god.
and one of their guarantors died. They weren't even in default. One of the guarantors died, and they tried to call the note due on like multi-millions of dollars. And the church has millions of dollars in the bank. They have all their accounts with them. They've never done anything wrong. And that's how dirty the bank wanted to do them because the rates went up.
Yeah,
Sorry, I,
that's
I
too
did
bad.
just get that out.
And a death is a default under the loan. I know a lot of people don't know that, but someone that's signing on that loan dies, that is a default. So to your point, I do see commercial loans being called due because they portfolio those. That just means a portfolio just means that the bank holds the paper, they own it. So it impacts their bottom line if they're under the market rate. That's why you see commercial rates with 3, 5, 7-year terms, not the 30-year fix like you see in the residential side. Residential, they don't own the loan. They sell it off to Fannie Mae, right? So now the government owns it. That's why you're not seeing the residential called.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
already knew that though.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's wrap this up here. Tell us, how do we get a hold of you?
So I am on social media. Give me a follow at attorney Bishoy. That's attorney spelled out and then Bishoy. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. You can find me on LinkedIn. My law firm's website, levacylegal.com, Levacy legal.com. My brokerage is Capstar, Florida. And then if you want to use a phone, old school 813-553-2699. And you can email me at bishoy at levacylegal.com.
And
It's
Bishoy with
funny,
an I.
I give that phone number almost sarcastically now. Like, I don't know if anyone's gonna call in, but maybe.
Yeah, maybe. So I have all of that here. We're going to put it in the show notes, so you'll have access to all of that
Yeah.
in description if you're watching this on YouTube. Last piece, one nugget here. What can you give our listener, maybe a newer real estate investor wants to get involved, is excited to hear how you're scaling up this land business? What's some advice you can give us?
I think start using technology, start leveraging AI. Use AI, and honestly, this is like industry agnostic advice. Doesn't matter what you're doing. I could give you also maybe a more specific to real estate, but I'll tell you this: like everybody needs to get involved in AI. I tell my wife, I'm like, annoy the hell out of her every day. I'm like, you need to learn AI. She's like, I'm in healthcare. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Everyone needs to learn it, right? So just go. The best thing out right now is Claude 3.5, CLAUDE 3.5. It was just released a couple months ago. It's better than GPT. It's better than Perplexity. It's the best thing out and it's free. There's a paid version, but you don't even have to get that. Just try it out. Talk to it. Ask it a question. Make it solve a problem for you. I mean, really, it's incredible, right? I use it every day. I use multiple tools every day. Figure out ways to incorporate that, whether that's, I just listed a property today and I used that to create the listing, to create the property description, right? That's a very, very simple way to use it, but try to figure out ways to use it. And there's a million ways to use it. That's my high level advice because it's not going away. It's not going away. That's the way the world is going now. So that's number one. Listen, in terms of real estate, this market is crazy. There is so many opportunities now that we did not think we were going to have 2 years ago. And I'm in Tampa Bay. The hottest market in America for 2 years, right? America's sweetheart. Now prices are 30% down from their
Whoa.
peak, or 20% down. Obviously, depending on where you are, but you couldn't even talk to a seller 2 years ago. They wouldn't even pick up the phone, like just make an offer over ask. Now, it seems like half the properties have reduced prices, right? And sellers are coming back down to earth. The creative deals are definitely the way to play right now. Definitely the way to win. Kevin, you sound like you're very well versed in those, so maybe they could reach out to you on those. Anything in Florida, reach out to me. But that's the way creative deals are going to win right now, because you're not going to borrow at 8%, 7.5% and make a deal work. It's very unlikely on the residential or the commercial space, right? It
I
has to be a
agree.
grand slam. So you're going to have to get creative. You're going to have to find out how to source deals. But I tell you what, there are deals to be had. People are getting desperate. People are losing their jobs. People are in bad shape financially. Credit card debt's at an all-time high. Auto loan defaults are at an all-time high. This interest rate thing is this high interest rate is breaking the US economy. And guess what? That's exactly the point, right? That's
Exactly.
literally what they wanted. Will it go down this year? That's what they're saying, but that hasn't happened. And so at least for the next 3-4 months, this is the reality. Take advantage of it. I don't know what market, depends on what market you're in, obviously, but there are deals to be had. There are definitely deals to be had. Just keep your eyes open, talk to people, and, go out there and get it.
Yeah, I love what you're saying here. And for the listener, just so we're very clear here, even if we do see that reduction in the rate from the Fed, that doesn't mean it's going to affect your borrowing rate. Your mortgage rates are tied to the Treasury, not to the Fed funds rate. And the Treasury already built in the cut. It's already there, whether it happens or not. If it doesn't happen, you might see everything pop, but I wouldn't count on that, I guess is my point.
Right.
All right.
Right.
You said Claude, CLAUD 3.5.
Yeah.
Better than
And there's an E at
ChatGPT.
the yeah, there's an end, there's an E at the end.
There we
CLAUD.
go. Okay.
Yeah.
You heard it here, y'all. Bishoy, Habib, you said Claude 3.5, better than ChatGPT. I'm going to go check it out. Love the advice. I want to first thank you so much for coming on here. We spent, what, 45 minutes? Your
Yeah.
camera
A
worked great,
wonderful
by the way.
45 minutes. What's that?
Your camera worked great, by the way.
It's hit or miss. I don't know.
Well, great job. I appreciate the 45 minutes. I know your time is super valuable, and you decided to jump on here and talk to me and help our listeners. So I really appreciate that. And to the listener, thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't yet, give us a 5-star review. That's how we get better guests, more high-profile guests, people that could really help you in your business. And look, we're here to help you be successful. So please, 5-star review, and thank you, and make this day a great one. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. If you did, please be sure to follow and leave us a review. Oh yeah, and tell a friend.